So my name is Conrad. I am reaching you from Finland, and with Inspire Network, together with the International Working Women of Finland, we thought we could organize something small to give a message to the women of the world in order to boost the happiness, to boost the confidence, to boost the strength of the women empowerment into the communities, and also to try to demolish the stigma of the women in the society, as we all know. So this is a celebration. It's not a lobbying event. And for that, we are discussing on how should a woman of the world celebrate herself. And this celebration is part of the strengths that these women have. It can be any strength. Our discussions can be open, and I will welcome as much as possible I will open as much as possible the discussions that each one of us will share and highlight the importance of why the women have to celebrate themselves today. So with us, we have a panel of three expert women in different areas of expertise. And these women will share their comments and stories about how should the international woman celebrate herself today, and if there is anything to be done, what is that? And of course, the participants are welcome to comment and discuss as we go on through the event. So since there are only three panelists, I would give microphones so they can introduce themselves and what they're doing for at least 2 minutes. And then the second round will be to discuss the question. I will start with Michelle Heft.
Thank you very much, Conrad. So my name is Michelle. I'm British, but I've worked internationally all of my life. I just had an education in the UK. I'm a very proud mother of 2 grown-up children. I have a medical science background, but more recently I am on the board of directors for the European University Alliance. I'm on the board of management for the business school at the SRH University in Heidelberg. And I have my partner and myself have a biotechnology company based in Ireland. I work in Germany, COVID permitting, but I actually live in the Republic of Ireland.
Thanks very much, Michelle. We look forward to hear your story. And of course, the story is already in our YouTube channel about the long story about yourself and also the developments that you have gone throughout your life. And then I'll go to the second panelist, Enya Tons, if you can also introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everybody from Finland. We have real winter here today. We had -7 degrees during the daytime, and the whole week is very promising. Snow, snow, and again snow. So welcome to the Finland. But yes, I'm Enya Tons. I'm an author. I wrote a book about networking because, in my opinion, we women, we need strong networks, not only personal networks, but also operational and strategic networks in order to fulfill ourselves with a joyful life, with a career, with a nice family life. So we need networks. And right now I'm also expert advisor for Estonian companies in Finland. So I'm working for Enterprise Estonia. I'm the supervisory board of our LähiTapiola insurance company here in Finland. And I have also been chairwoman for Espoo Women Entrepreneurs, I think 5 or 6 years. So both corporate side and the entrepreneurship is familiar for me. So welcome to Finland.
Thank you, Enya, and I believe your story will come later in March, so people will get to know more about networking and the work that you're doing. We're very grateful to have you here. And then the third and the last one, Chiara Costa.
Hello, this is Chiara Costa. Hello from Helsinki, from a sunny but cold day in Helsinki. This is Chiara. I'm from Italy, and I have been working with issues of integration and integration through employment for the last around 5 years. And I have been involved in activism for women's rights and generally human rights for the last 15 years about. I am the former president and co-founder of the International Working Women of Finland organization, and currently I'm the community manager, and I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to hear all your wonderful opinions.
Wonderful, Chiara. And of course, your story will premiere possibly this evening, so the people of the world can also see and hear what type of things you're doing, and also hear your story as a person. But you're also there. You have been in the International Working Women of Finland as one of the heads, and now in the board member of the community. Could you tell the people what is this community? Because you were very wonderful and supportive in getting this event to the mouth of the people as well.
Yes, I will actually share with you guys some very short presentation. So International Working Women of Finland is a network where we help women to network, to empower themselves, and to promote their ideas, and also to offer new ideas to companies and municipalities. We have three most important points for our network, and one is to share the knowledge for the women of the international community in Finland, and for getting to know what's going on in their communities. The second is to help the recruitment and to facilitate the recruitment of international talents by putting in contact possible employers and possible employees, but also sharing tools and making people aware of diversity and inclusion topics. And the third instead is to help the development of multiculturalism in workplaces, and to give visibility also to minorities when it's about promoting companies and municipalities. We give the chance to promote own workshops with us, organize also workshops with us, and also we organize once per month. At least now in Corona times it's a little bit harder, but in the past we were organizing once per month networking events where to meet other people from the own field, or simply to network with other international talents. We have been very popular. We've been doing a lot, and at the moment our organization counts more than 5,000 members in our Facebook group, and we have coming different we have been coming different cooperations both with municipalities and private companies. If you are interested to get to know more about us, I will leave then at the end our contact email, that is contact@evov.com, and you can get more information about what we do.
Thank you very much. Very informative in a brief. And I think the work you're doing is wonderful, because any woman who is traveling the world, going somewhere else, meeting the community is one of the important thing. And I think this International Working Women of Finland is giving that, and also it's also supporting the connectedness of these women from different backgrounds to the local women here in Finland, and different activities which are happening. We're very grateful to have you here, and we hope to hear more about your work later on as well as we go on.
Thank you.
Yes. So maybe we will right away go on to our topic of the day, and in the very same order we can discuss this question. We have at least 10 minutes for each panelist to tell or speak their views. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes, it can be less, it's okay. If it's more, then it's okay. We have enough time. But the question was, how should the woman of the world celebrate herself today? and what should be done, if at all. So I know here we have the commonality of three of you panelists is that you are all entrepreneurs or business owners, but then we have diversity or diversified fields from the author down to the administrator, to the scientist, to the international educator and activist. So if I start with Michelle, what are your views on this question?
I think actually that one of the main ways women can celebrate is by showing by example. It's really the best thing that we can do. Try to live free of inhibitions, not to restrict ourselves. So the more times that we face any inhibition or that we move forward and try something and test these boundaries, then the more confidence we're going to get. And the more confidence we get, the more likely we are to push ourselves that little bit further. But certainly living by example is quite important. And also education. So supporting those that are not quite as confident as ourselves, or who are restricted because of where they are. There might be a cultural restriction or there might be a personal restriction, but to help those that don't have quite that same level of ability as we might have, or experience as we might have. Also to educate those that actually don't understand equality. And gender, as an equality, is quite common, is known, but it's not a privilege. It is a fact, but it should not be a privilege. The biggest problem today is with equality for women is that it doesn't mean the same for everyone, but it should actually mean understanding the difference. And so when you look at race as well as gender, these two actually have quite strong parallels. You'll see the misunderstanding with gender runs in line with misunderstanding of race. So again, it's by living by example is what's really, really critical. And I think that International Women's Day gives us the opportunity to value women's role in society, past, present, and also moving forward. If we look back, not so long ago, you'll see that in the early 1960s, there started to be quite some considerable changes with gender equality. The first elected female leader was in Sri Lanka in 1960, and she set the trend then. Since 1960, there have been 90 elected female leaders, and currently today there are 21 women who are head of state or head of government in 193 countries. That's 11%, but there is still quite a long way to go. When we look at the boardroom in business, overall, women hold approximately 12% of board positions worldwide, but there are only 4% of them that actually chair the boards. Denmark, that's the 6th highest number in the world of women on its boards, but not a single one of them is a chair of the company. So that's from a Deloitte study, a recent Deloitte study. So it's not just Denmark, it's not just your own country that has these problems. This is an international issue. Women now hold 1/3 of the board positions in the UK, so that is going up. But women continue to face barriers for their success, whether it's through promotion or key roles or how they're treated by colleagues. There are these barriers, and we have to learn to face those and try to educate to allow us to be able to move forward. When people think about astronauts, they often think about male astronauts. 90% of them are male, but 10% of them have been female. And as of this month, there have been 65 women who have flown into space. And that's quite remarkable. Cosmonauts, astronauts, payload specialists, or even the space station participants. And the very first woman into space was actually a Russian in 1963. But how often do we tell our children about the women in space? We often talk about Neil Armstrong having landed on the moon and the first man to walk on the moon. But we don't really sing our praises or do a gender balance when we talk about these things. Now, looking at it from my own personal experience, how have I managed to celebrate being a woman, and how have I managed to use this? I think one of the key things is I actually value being a mother. And this is something that only women can do, obviously. I'm a very proud mother of 2 wonderful daughters, but I've also taken in to care some children. When we first established our biotechnology company, I needed to go into town to sign some contracts for a massive investment that was going to take place. And at that time, I had a 3-year-old little boy in my care, and I brought him with me. The look of shock and horror on the all male participants in that meeting was unbelievable. And they sent a secretary out to go and buy some biscuits for this little boy. And at the end of the meeting, which was about an hour long, they then realised that being a mother was not such a bad thing. And okay, I was very lucky. This little boy was a very well-behaved little boy. But it just showed that it doesn't have to be that being a mother has to stay at home and can't participate in big contracts or business deals. Again, when we in the business school, we have put out to try and balance our gender in the business school for professors and for teaching. We don't get many female applicants. I suppose possibly there are not that many people, females, who are interested in teaching in business. We see that in the number of students who apply for the business courses. There are more males than females. But what I do notice in the applications is that the males are very bombastic, they're very forward, and the females don't really present themselves as aggressively as the males do. They're quite quiet about their achievements. So again, live by example. Please broadcast what we do. My eldest daughter works for the UNHCR, and I was very privileged to be invited to Lebanon to support her in some teaching that she was doing in the Bekaa Valley. And this again, a cultural difference from the West to the Middle East. We were teaching a group of children who were very, very happy to have class. And one of the girls was pulled out of class because her family said, "You don't need an education. You're going to be brought home to clean the house. That is your place." Again, education. It starts at the very, very early years. And girls in the Bekaa Valley, certainly in the refugee camps, would have less chance of an education than the boys would. I'm a member of the European University Alliance. And again, on that board, we are mainly women, which is quite interesting, as is my job in the international offices of the university. Most of the people running international offices around the world are actually females. But with my other hat, I have my own biotechnology company, and that's male dominated. And yet there's some very good female scientists. So it's quite interesting to see how there does seem to be this break up of the 2 different genders. In the business school, I'm on what they call, in English it would be something like the board of management for the business school, and I'm the only female amongst 12 men. So that's one side to look at. The other side is to look at the government's perspective on women as a role. And generally, women, if they're lucky to get any maternity leave at all, get very limited maternity leave. There are exceptions. But likewise, fathers get very little paternity leave. And the US is the only country in the world, other than Papua New Guinea, that has no national policy guaranteeing leave for new mothers. How can this be? How can women possibly have a chance to develop their careers further if they're not given the support to also be mothers? And I very strongly support mothers getting into the workplace and catching up with their counterparts in a career. You should not be in any way held back because of taking time out to give birth to children. My youngest daughter is in exactly that situation now. She's looking at her life ahead of her, and of course the biological clock is ticking. But if she were to decide to start a family now, it would set her career back by a couple of years, because there's no facility for her to be able to take time out to have a family. And it's a very valuable resource, having a family. So how should we celebrate, and what can be done? I think we should celebrate by education. We should teach those who are ignorant. We should support those that don't have much confidence. And most of all, don't let others hold you back. Represent yourself well. Lead by example. That also applies to the men as well. So don't hold back. Be happy in whatever you do. Don't be afraid to ask for support. It's not a weakness. I can only do what I do because I have the support of so many different teams of people, my family being first. You can be as good as anybody else, regardless of your gender. Don't let gender be the thing that holds you back.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Michelle. Very strong points there. And I think they're the points that people might know, but might wonder on how to implement those. For example, living by example into the community. Let's say you're a mother, or of course you spoke about the father as well. We are celebrating the women here, but that was a very good point, because we are not trying to create a world where women are coming up quickly and then after several years then we start to work on the men to come up again. But we're trying to celebrate the world where men and women will work together to create a better place to live. So how can a person, let's say a woman of the world, as we call, show an example to the young daughter at home that this is the way to move forward?
I think key is education. So from the very beginning, you live by example. But the other thing when you talk to your daughter and your sons is what job would you like to go into? Or who's going to help me prepare the food? Or whose turn is it to empty the dishwasher? Is that you don't delineate on gender. Now there are certain things that the boys are better at than the girls. One good example would be, generally speaking, the boys in my family unit are much stronger than the girls. So it's only right that they should help with the physical activities. There's nothing weak about not having the strength to carry a heavy box or to help carry the more heavy items in the shopping. There's nothing to do with gender there. It's just a physical fact that some people, the strongest person, should carry the heavier item. So when it comes to educating the daughters, it's to not let their gender hold them back. Even in a male-dominated situation, which could be a business role, trying to aim for the board, go for it. Give them all the encouragement, empower them, educate them, lead by example. And I would say that is absolutely key for the young girls today, and the boys, because the boys should also see that there should be no difference.
Yes,
and
definitely.
I strongly believe, with having had a wonderful opportunity to have a couple of children, which is probably the most important thing in my life, is an equal share. My husband also has responsibilities there, and the children see that. They should see that.
That's right.
Certain things that mummy's better at than doing than daddy is. Don't think it's really good at sewing buttons on shirts, but you can still learn.
Exactly.
But I'm not very good at fixing the car. That's not a gender issue. That is purely, I don't have much interest in getting my hands oily, and I don't have much interest in car engines, and he genuinely does.
Definitely.
This is the thing, we always categorise people by gender and activities by gender, and that's got to sort of be undone. And we should try and promote some of these wonderful female leaders we've got, or females in high positions, in board positions, to show they are also well able to multitask or to do the same as men many times. It's not about the gender, it's about your own personal ability. And quite often, to be able to give yourself 100% to a task, you do need support, male or female. They actually say behind every great man is his wife or a woman. You know, the reverse is also true. I would not be where I am today if I didn't have a very understanding husband.
Definitely. Fair enough. Great. Fantastic. We will move forward and hear from Ida Thomas. What are her views? How should the woman of the world celebrate herself today? And if there is something to be done, what is that?
I wanted to tell you one story. This picture is taken around 1930, between 1930 and 1940. And as you may notice sometimes, old pictures usually, and especially from Estonia, where I'm coming from, people are usually very serious. They don't smile in the family pictures. And also they don't take their pets with them to family pictures. This family is a little bit different. As you can see, 2 cats, smiling people, showing their teeth, 1 dog. And this is actually my grandparents' family from between 1930 and 1940. Women are smiling and one happy family. What happened and why I'm talking about my grandparents' family, you will see soon. These 2 small girls are my aunts. My father is still not here. They're yet to come. 94, everything changed to that family because in Estonia, 25th of March, people were sent to Siberia. Soviet Union occupation started earlier already, and there were thousands of people sent in animal wagons to Siberia in March, where nothing waited for them. So they lost all. In this picture, after a couple of years, were only left these 3 people. They came back, they survived from Siberia. This is my grandmother, my aunts, and also additionally, my father was already, should be in the picture because these 4 people came back from Siberia after 7 years. They built up again their life there. So I had a really, really blessed childhood because I could spend a lot of time with my family in countryside and also with my grandmother. I learned a lot from that woman, and what I learned is you have to do in certain periods of life, you have to do readjustments in your life. You might be earlier a really rich farmer. Suddenly you are in Siberia with your 3 kids alone there, and you have to survive. You have to be aware what is going on, what to tell, to whom to tell, and how to tell. Awareness what you are doing, not only the emotions you would like to follow in these critical moments of your life. And one really important thing, and maybe the most important things, networks. Without the networks, new and old networks, she and her kids wouldn't survive. She had to build up the networks again in Siberia. When she came back with 3 kids from Siberia after 7 years there, she had to build up the networks again in order to survive, in order to send her kids to school, in order to have a food on the table, in order to have even shoes for her kids. So it all took networks and strong networks to help her. What I learned from my childhood, in this picture I have my cousin in the same road. The last picture was taken, my cousin and my brother. As you can see, they have bicycles and they are smiling because they were the big boys or big girls. They had bicycles, they had freedom, they could go once a week. We didn't have every week ice cream in our village. So once a week they went there to buy it, and most probably they ate half of the ice creams already on the way home. We couldn't do it because we didn't have the experience, we didn't have tools, and we didn't belong to that big boys group. I was the one with the short hair there. So what I learned really quickly was that in order to accomplish, in order to get something, you need to learn, and you need to learn fast. Wherever situation you are in your life, are you 20, are you 50, are you 5 years old, you need to constantly learn. So, and you need to learn what kind of tools or what kind of skills these big boys have. These big boys there, or big girls there, my cousin and brother, they didn't smile after a couple of years, because I kind of borrowed one bicycle. I went to the forest and I didn't come back before I could ride the bicycle. So I came back, I knew how to do it. And I guess it was in the same day or next day, I showed it into my best friend that, hey, let me help you to learn how to ride a bicycle. Why did I do that? First of all, if you are alone, you are having these skills or those knowledges or even the tools, it doesn't help you forward. You need a strong network, people who you helped first. They will support you in the future. And in the end of the day, I guess it's much more fun in life if you do this experience called life in a great company. So I learned quite early that, first of all, you need to learn constantly. You need to see what kind of tools and skills the big boys have, and you need to have some fun in a great company. So later on, I moved a lot. I have moved a lot in my life. So I was forced in a way to, again, make new friends, build up new network. And in the end of the day, a couple of years ago, I became an author. I wrote a book about networking, because I found out that it doesn't matter in what kind of position you are in life. Are you a CEO or student? You need networks. And the other thing I realized, that people are struggling, at least in my part of the world. They struggle still how to find the right networks, how to approach people, how to even talk to strangers. So I don't know if you're aware, but most of the phobias people have are social phobias. It's not about rats or snakes. Social phobias are most common. So in a way, it helped me to understand why I'm struggling time to time when I need to go to speak people or to talk with someone. Most of the people struggle. We need tools, we need skills. We need to do it better in our world. So right now, under the line, there are some companies or some brands I have been working with, and right now I'm also the keynote speaker, consultant. I'm the member of supervisory board of local insurance company LähiTapiola. I'm also have been chairwoman for Espoon metropolitan area women entrepreneurs and influencers, and I was the first foreign member of the board in Finnish Women Entrepreneur Society. So, and also working with Estonia, Enterprise Estonia as expert advisor, helping Estonian companies and Estonian entrepreneurs to find the contacts, to find the stakeholders here in Finland. So this is what I do. And again, without the source of power, without the networks, I haven't been there where I am now. Without my family support, I'm a single mom of two. My son is already moved out from home a couple of years ago. I still have my daughter and my golden retriever. So this is what I get power to go forward. These are three I cannot say people, but three members of my families who give me the strength to wake up in the morning, who give me the strength to fix the washing machine or put the lamps after moving into a new house, install the lamps, or do whatever I want and need to do. And in the end of the day, my daughter said to me once that, oh, when I move out, then you can finally live your life and do whatever you want. And my answer to her was that I have always done what I wanted. You kids are not a limitation. It's not an excuse to reach or to do the career or to have a good life. And that's what I would say, that with the right inspiration, not even the motivation, because motivation lasts quite a short time. Maybe I had the motivation for something in the morning, I don't have it right now. But with the right inspiration, like my grandmother was for me, who taught me so many things, how to survive and survive well in this life, with this right inspiration and with the support of networks, I think we women can manage quite well or even extremely well. Thank you.
Wonderful. So here I can see again the element of education came back. So you spoke a lot about the informal education, learning from your grandmother, and Michelle has spoken about education as a general element, as an important thing. But what you have proven from Michelle's comment was the living by example. So your grandmother told you that you should live, she told you how you should live in the future, just in case you find yourself in Siberia.
I think she didn't tell, she showed how to do it.
Exactly. And that is really that is really interesting to see that these things are working. And I have to say that you are a success, because you have written such a thick book in Finnish language. Yes, as an immigrant woman here, I think everybody deserves to give you a round of applause, because it's not very easy, even though your languages are not so far away in family, but still writing such a book is a job. Then the family was important again. And this is something that we see for many women around the world. A woman is always number one in taking care of the family. And there has been sometimes pre or misconception for the women, trying to think, okay, you think because I'm a woman, so I should take care of the family. Why can't men do that? In some cultures, of course, women are kind of thought to be like that. But what could you tell for a woman who is able to take care of the family and still work hard? Should they continue to complain, or should they feel proud of themselves and go on with the great work that they're doing?
Complain about what? Of course, sometimes I'm complaining too. It's really not easy, you know. If you move, I moved to Finland 2007. I started as a sales director in an international company. I didn't have any social network here. I had 5-year-old daughter and 12-year-old boy with me. One went to kindergarten, the other one went to the other city to the school, international school. I was in the middle of that and tried to please the company I worked for. So it wasn't easy. But yesterday, I think my daughter asked that, when was your like happiest time in your life? And I actually said to her that this was the happiest time of my life. I had a really nice job. I was so happy to live in Finland with my 2 kids. It was the happiest time of my life, even though it was so busy and logistically sometimes even unbelievably busy.
Yes, so a sense of purpose was the most important.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
Fantastic.
And also my mom have always been a working mom. She worked in university and she have always worked, and she have successful. So in a way, I saw it that can be, it's doable. Of course, she had my father next to her, but I don't think, at least in Finland, it's possible. And at the same time, it's possible to learn and to study, because Finland is a promised land for learning addicts like me.
Definitely, definitely. Yes, and I think we men have to also take a much more active role as well to support in the family, and especially for the children that we are bringing to the world. I think that's a clear message that I could give to my fellow men. Thanks a lot. We will definitely continue with the discussion. I would like to welcome as well the two new colleagues who came in. Just to let you know that we are recording this event, and just in case you wouldn't like to be viewed into the social media or a public media, when you communicate, you can let your camera be off. That would be fine. I will continue now with our third keynote and panelist, Ms. Chiara Costa. Today I know how to say your name. Also, you will reflect on the elements of how should the woman of the world celebrate herself today, and if anything has to be done, what would that be? So welcome, Chiara.
Thank you. My message for today is that I invite all women to celebrate their differences and what makes them different from the majority. What makes you feel part of a minority, or what makes you identify with a minority? We are not all the same. We are very used to say that I see no colors, I see no differences in gender. This is a very nice message that comes from good intentions, but it's actually not the truth. The truth is that we have differences among ourselves, and denying the existence of these differences means denying the fact that some of us, some minorities among us, are considered or seen as inferior or B class than others. So the thing is that there are differences, but instead of considering them as a negative thing, let's start celebrating them. What makes you special? Let's not say anymore what makes me different, but what makes me special? What makes my story exciting? What makes my story different from the majority? Start teaming with other minorities, start teaming with other different people, and together fight the idea of divide et impera. Divide et impera in Latin means divide and conquer. If we are divided among ourselves, if we consider other differences and minorities as enemy, we will never race together. I will share with you my personal story. I moved to Finland from Italy, as I was saying before. I didn't have any network. I was considering myself as a side of a society. I didn't know how to get in. And very soon I realized that alone I would have never made it. You need people to be to stand on next to you, to be on your back, shoulder by shoulder with you. And this is only possible when you create a sense of community with other people. You celebrate yourselves, and you celebrate also what you have in common with them. Then, after integrating myself in Finland, other life struggles have come. I have become a single mother, and that also made me different from others. In Finland, it's seen as something really common, but in my culture, it's not. I was living with the back sense of having done something kind of wrong. Is it something different? Makes it me different than the other moms? Does it make me less responsible than other moms? Until the point that I decided I will celebrate this. I will celebrate my single motherhood. I will celebrate the fact that I managed to make my schedule and my calendar be on fleek, even though I'm so busy and I take care of a child and I take care of the home alone. I will not consider it anymore as a disadvantage. I will consider it as a difference that makes me special and makes me strong. And I want to celebrate this with other women and their diversities. Same goes for women of color, same goes for women coming from gender minorities, same comes from women that come from sexual orientation minorities. We are, all of us, we might feel different sometimes, but we have to celebrate that, and we have to be a team among ourselves and to raise all together.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chiara. What a better way to close the panel discussion, that we have to celebrate ourselves. I know that you are an activist, that from your discussion that could be viewed. It takes a little bit of guts for someone to celebrate him or herself because they're different. So what would be the advice that you would give to these people? How can I be different and yet go out there and celebrate my differences? Of course, I can figure out all the positives that I have. Definitely, that's doable. But how could I kind of go to the public or community and make them understand that I am here and I am actually able to change the world in a different way than the way I look or the way I am perceived in the society?
As you say, it takes guts, it takes a lot of courage to do that, but it's something that needs to be done, because the more of us talk loud and the more of us are vocal about our needs and about our differences and about the similarities that we have, it opens the road for other people that is trying maybe to overcome their sense of non-belonging, but is trying to be vocal on that, but it's not quite there yet. It takes some time to process it, but once you're there, you need to do that. It's important you do that, because it's gonna open the street for other people. It can be that a person, I'm gonna give an example, for example, for who comes from a minority of sexual orientation. It might be that in the beginning, it might be really hard to open the topic, especially if not, like, the people around us is not aware yet of the thing, but it will give courage to other people to do the same. And the other people, they will start being vocal and they will inspire other people to do the same. So the more vocal we are, the more inspire other people to do the same. And also find your community, find your tribe. Nowadays, it's much more easier because thanks to the use of social media, of internet, it's also possible to participate to a community with a nickname or anonymously. If you're not ready to openly say your name or to openly face the world with your diversity, you can do that. You can find your community and still be anonymous, and still do it, with a nickname, not putting your face. And then slowly, when you find the people close to you, it might be that you will be more and more ready to live your life proud of who you are. And this goes for everybody. It goes for the people of color or minorities, ethnic minorities that have got the pattern of thinking of being inferior because they are part of a minority. The more you and your community are vocal about your needs and about what kind of struggles you're going through, the more other people will have the courage to do the same. And other people of other communities will have the courage of doing the same. And same for single mothers, and same for non-conventional traditional families. It's the same. Just find your tribe, find your community, and fight together.
Wonderful. And of course, it's from the community that we get networks that shows us what to do. Very good. And maybe I can give the floor to our participants. If anyone would have a comment about how should the women of the world celebrate themselves today, or then if there is something to be done, what could that be? So feel free to open your mic and give your idea if you have. Otherwise, we will continue with the discussions with the panelists. So we can continue possibly with the discussions with the panelists, and please feel free as participants as well to ask questions. That's why we are celebrating here today. So back to the panelists, and this is open to everybody. How would we affect, because today we're celebrating the International Women's Day, and we want to empower the women. And we know that just like men, there are also women who are not active enough towards the goals, because the reality is whatever is said here requires activeness. If you learn, if you want to live with examples, yes, you will see good examples, but if you're not active, you cannot fulfill your goals. So how can we affect those ones who are not active to be active towards reaching their goals and improve the position of the women in the world?
Can I answer?
Yes, please.
I think, yes, activeness is one very good thing, but in a certain periods of life, you cannot be in a same level active. So it's okay sometimes not to be overly active. And don't feel bad. And the other thing, I think that why some women are not really active is a fear. What if? And what if I fail? Shall I open my business? What if I fail? What will happen? And this, they are scared. So I think start, if you don't feel like comfortable to do big things, start with the small ones. What give you the satisfaction of, yes, I did it. Even with me, I don't like either the oil in my hands, but in a way, I like that I didn't throw away my washing machine. I just fixed it. I learned how to do it through my YouTube channel. I checked the videos, the tutorials, and then I called to my brother, and together we fixed it. And now I feel that, yes, I can do it. It was quite scary to open that machine because I have never done it before. But maybe some other small things, in order to get this feeling of victory, that yes, I can. So it doesn't have to be big things. I'm very scared of big changes. I don't know, hands up who are not scared of really drastic big changes. We all are, I think. So start with the small ones.
Mm-hmm. Yes, fantastic. So starting small. And that's where it can escalate. So Chiara.
Yes, and also I would like to add a comment to what I just said. Also, it's important to have mentally clear what's our goal, because sometimes if we don't really know what's our goal, we can't really be focused on pursuing that. I can give for example, my personal experience with the job seeking. I didn't really know what kind of job I would have liked to do. So I was just looking and looking, but not really focusing on what was my career goal. And you just fail, you're destined to fail, because if you don't have a goal, you're just going ahead, but like driving a car and not really steering properly. Of course, you're destined to fail or go on the guardrail, most likely. So sometimes we need to not be active for a second, as Ida said, to stop, to roadmap where are we going through, to clear our mind a bit, to map everything that is in our life at the moment and where we want to go forward. And that's then when we are actually really ready then to be active.
Wonderful. Well said. Would you like to say something, Michelle?
Yeah, I think Kira mentioned something a little bit earlier, guts and courage. And I think by nature, quite a lot of women are more cautious. I mean, certainly if there's a car accident by a woman, it's usually as a result of hesitation. If it's a car accident with a guy, it's usually because they've driven too fast. So I think this guts and courage, and if you can focus on the one end goal, as Kira just said, that absolutely helps eliminate some of the things. We're very bad at getting distracted and not focusing on the achievement. But to get that goal and to get the guts and the courage comes back to the same thing that all three of us have said: networking, community, and being led by example. So we look at others who have got ahead of us and try to follow. All of us, I just mentioned about her mother and the fantastic role models that her grandparents and her mother gave her. I mean, to come out of Siberia and to restart against all of those odds, you'd have to have an incredibly strong character. I don't know if I could do that. Kira's life, you know, where she has literally had to pick up life and to get a direction. So leading by example, and I hope I have led by example to my children. So to get the courage to go forward, we need to be led sometimes. And so if you're a leader, you need to support. But with that comes the one thing that the three of us have said, which are basically the same: community and networking. They are the same. And not to feel shy about asking for support to get to where you want to go. To go back to Kira's point, know where you're going and find out a way, have the network and the community to support you to get to that goal. And also, as Ida said, to not have the fear of failure. It is far better to try and fix your washing machine and then give up after a day and then call the plumber in than to have not tried at all. And if you have tried and succeeded, that sense of achievement will lead you on to perhaps fixing the car. But that sense of achievement just helps you to sort of improve your confidence levels. And I think that's something that women seem to have a lot less confidence than men. And I think it's possibly as a result of the social environment that we're in, whereas boys tend to be a little bit more adventurous. But yeah, networking, community, and leading by example.
Thanks a lot, Michelle. I was just trying to think, how could someone realizes his or her potential? Today we are celebrating the women. If they are located in a place where there are not so many resources. This is a bit of a difficult question, so we don't have to worry if it's you don't have an answer for that. But I have seen many times women who are really determined, but surroundings around them push them down from moving forward. It might not necessarily be the government rules, but and I have a question about that later, but because there are just no resources to try to put the puzzles together. In your visions, you can also reflect the places where there are resources. How could these women empower their thoughts? Because I think this is all about empowering one's thought towards starting doing even this a little bit.
You're right. There are, across the globe, so many scenarios where women have a dream and do not know how to get started. And again, this comes to Kira's point of view, that get that dream and understand where the direction you would like to go to. Then the next thing is to realistically look at what is within your hands, what it is that you're capable of being able to do, and making these small steps. This goes to Ida's point, making small steps and then progressing further. So I think that for advice, for whether it's somebody in a small village in India who has a business concept that could raise some money but doesn't know how to get the sewing machine to start the practice, or to access the microfinance they might need to get started, or childminding facilities because you've got a young family and you're a single parent. It's looking to someone who has done that and asking, looking to your network or your community to see if someone can help you. So if it's the childminding issue, look to an older person in the village would you mind taking care of the kids for a couple of hours, and in return I might be able to do some sewing for you if you allow me to get my business up and running. So sometimes we say in English there's more than one way to skin a cat. Now, or skin a rabbit. It's you know, I don't expect anybody to go skinning rabbits, but sometimes you have to think outside the box. And I would say that's something that's inherently very good within women. I don't know why, but we're regularly thinking outside the box. So for these individuals who are in very difficult situations, as you say, whether it's governmental or whether it's social or whether it's financial, or you literally have no access to technology or electricity, which you need to get yourself up and running, then this is where you've got to really think of alternative ways to get to where you want to be. And if you stay focused at where you want to be, then you have more chance of getting there. So there's more than one way to get. It might not be direct. You might have to go around the houses. It might take a little longer. And I've seen many examples in my lifetime of that, of people who have not taken. It could even be someone who failed at school, always dreamt to go to university, but they didn't get those school leaving exams. But then they go and get a couple of years work experience, and they're allowed into university because of their work experience. So then they still do come out with a degree. There are so many examples of, it's not always just a direct entry, there are alternative ways to get where you would like to be. If you have that passion, if you have that determination, and the confidence comes with that, as you progress, the confidence will come with that.
Definitely. Ida, you had something?
Yeah, I would add also this learning aspect. A day without learning anything new is a wasted day, because we don't know yet where you can use some kind of skills or knowledge. So every day, even if you don't know where are you going or what should you do, learn something. It doesn't mean what you learn. Is it about knitting the wooden socks or Photoshop or I don't know, something, because you keep yourself fresh and you are ready when the opportunity comes. And at least in my life, I have been, I wanted to get the violin when I was 7 years old, and my mom said, yes, please, but you need to study this instrument, which wasn't my plan, because I just wanted to own the one, not the study. So I said, okay, I will go and study this violin if I get it. So it took 5 years. Every week, couple of times I went to study the violin. And I thought that why should I do that? In 5th grade, in Soviet Union, we had in Estonia only one choir, girls' choir, Ellerheim, who could travel outside world, only one choir in one country. And I wanted to travel outside of the Soviet Union. I wanted to see the world. And that was my ticket to outside world. I knocked the door of this elite choir and went in and said that I would like to join your choir. The adult people in this room, they laughed at me, because usually students, they start from 1st grade to go there 5 times a week in order to be in this choir. I just jumped in from door and said that I would like to join. So the professor said that, okay, let's see what you can. And I can tell you that without this 5 years violin training, I would never got in. And these people, these adult people, they didn't laugh afterwards, because I was ready. I was ready to present something. My ear was really trained, because if you play violin, it's really, it's not that easy to play violin. You have to be really sharp, musically sharp, in order to play it right. And I was ready to that next opportunity. In 1988, when it was totally still closed, Soviet Union, I could travel to Finland, I could travel to Canada, I could travel to UK. And the opportunities came more and more because of something I learned. So even if you don't know where are you going tomorrow, try to learn something. And I think YouTube and internet is full of all kinds of things you can learn today. And even if it doesn't seem like reasonable, or why should I know this? I don't know, nobody knows. Just learn every day something new. Language, maybe. I don't know why my son moved to Spain now and studying there intensively Spanish, but most probably this is the opportunity for him one day because he knows the language, or fifth language already in his case. So we don't know, just learn something every day.
So figuring out the opportunities and grabbing them in any scale possible.
Be ready when.
Yeah. And again, you touched the aspect of trying. You didn't know if you were going to be accepted into this group, choir group, but you tried.
Yeah,
and you were accepted.
I had 90% chances that I will not be accepted.
But it turned out the other way around.
Yeah, and the same way when I applied to my first real job, when in an advertisement, it was Swedish cosmetic company, and they advertised that they are looking for a male candidate. It was exactly the same moment as a key account manager. I thought that, oh, that's me. That's me. It's my place. I don't give a damn that, oh, sorry, that they are looking for a male candidate. I got the place. Thanks for that place. I got the other opportunity 10 years later. So I just ignored that they are looking something which I cannot be today. So
you celebrated your difference.
Yeah.
And it worked. So Chiara's point has been ticked here.
It's not working always. I cannot guarantee it works all the time, but time to time it works.
It's a trying and trying and trying again. Yes, I think for men as well. So, but this is a good message. And as we can see now, we have technology. I think there is technology down to the village, wherever, you know, people have mobile phones. They can access YouTube. They can see what people are doing and how do they do that. And I think it's from there where they can also imitate to see how can I sell my product and how can I make this product better, because I am living in much more sunnier place than these people, you know, for example. So the climate can also be an aspect to celebrate in a sense. Yes, Chiara.
Yes, indeed, I would like to underline this or what you were talking about the technologies, because I would like to underline two aspects that we women can take advantage of the technology for celebrating ourselves and bettering ourselves. One is online mentoring, and the second is informational interviewing. Online mentoring, because as Michelle was mentioning, not necessarily every woman has the chance of having every tool available right away, or having every person available right away, or a person that has already gone through what we want to go through and has experience to show us the path. But online it's possible to meet other women that have done already the path, and it's possible to have Teams phone call or to share some platform and so on, and to mentor other women doing so. There are plenty of programs of communities mentoring other communities around the world, or single people mentoring other women around the world. There are programs for entrepreneurs that have gone through a certain path in a country, mentoring developing countries for doing the same. And this goes connected to the other thing that I would like to mention, that is the informational interviewing. Sometimes we have an idea in the mind, but we don't know how to develop it, and we don't know anybody that has gone through that. What it would be useful is to do informational interviews, which means to be in contact with a person that has already been going through that, and not asking for a job place, but for asking for internal tips of a person that has already gone through that. It can be about job, but not only that. It can be about activism, about community building, about family creation. Many multicultural families are now sharing tips how to raise multilingual kids, multicultural kids, multi-religious kids. I mean, it can be whatever. I'm speaking about the job, the work life, because that's the area I'm interested in, but it can be really whatever. And I have been very happy to give informational informational interviews to other activists. And basically, it's like asking, for example, how did you start? What are the best ways to find other people interested in doing the same? If you have published something, how did you publish that? How did you start doing it? If you have been writing a blog, how did you start writing that, and so on. It can be whatever question. And it can start, you know, from net, and it can start, for example, from Teams, Zoom, WhatsApp calls, whatever. And then even when the Corona situation will end, it can also be live. Hey, I'm going to offer you a lunch in exchange. Open the world for me. Also, another question I've been getting a lot is, for example, the average wage in your sector. Often in job openings, it's written that you should suggest what kind of wage you want, and many people don't know how to do that. There are websites where to calculate that, but they are not really necessarily then the truth. So it can be whatever question, and most of these questions can't really find the answers online. So it's really good to do informational interviews with much people possible. And how to find the people to interview for learning and creating and developing? LinkedIn, Facebook. The internet is your friend in this case. And so these 2 points, I think they are really important: international mentoring, online mentoring, and informational interviews. By the way, I also know that Aide does a lot of that, so maybe she also wants to add something.
Yes, I can see that Aide has hands up. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you that you mentioned mentoring. And this is actually what I have realized, that women often in organizations, when there is a mentoring program and they are asked to find a mentor, they usually go one step or one position or max 2 positions up. When male colleagues, they aim up to the highest, up to the CEO, up to the board. And women think that, okay, maybe my boss can be my mentor. So this is one thing I would encourage women to do. Find the best one, not the next one, but the best one to mentor you. And this is what actually I did when I started my company in Finland, that I was thinking, who could be the best person for me, who could fit, who could be successful, quite tight person, not the very like bubbling, but quite like that to keep me in kind of like shape. And I was thinking, I thought, okay, there is one lady who is actually very successful business owner. And she was at the time, she was also a member of government, a minister in Finland. And I'm an immigrant. So I just wrote a letter to her to ask and explained why I'm looking her to be perfect to mentor me. And she started to mentor me. And when I later said, who is my mentor? Local people were all like, how? How can a minister of country be your mentor? And I said, you know, I just asked. And she said, yes. So simple is that. So choose the one who is not next from you, but who is best, and approach, think how you can approach her or him, and just go ahead. Mentoring is really important.
Yes, the power of asking a question. That is a topic of its own. I think it's very powerful. We live in a community or in the world where we are under the governments. You are 3 powerful women in your own areas. What do you think the governments should do so that the 11% we have today will become 50% at some point, that we have women in the platform of leadership, equal wages, women pronounced, given opportunities, given more loans or equal loans as men? What should be the position of the government? Yes, do you want to start, Aide?
I cannot suggest something concrete to do the governments. I think they are busy right now with other things. But what we can do in our everyday lives is how we grow our kids. What kind of stories we tell to our boys and to our girls. And that's how it starts. Because government cannot tell you how you treat your girl or how you treat your boy at home. And I don't think government can really say that 50% women. And also what we can do as already professionals, we have to build bridges, not live in our bubbles. Because right now, so many people live in their small bubbles and they create more bubbles in order, instead of creating bridges. And the same with women. I'm not in a supervisory board of one biggest insurance company because I'm the smartest one. No, I'm not. I'm because somebody knew me who said that I could be a suitable candidate, because somebody knew what I can do. It's not enough that you know what you can do. You have to let other people know what you can do, and then the network can help you. So we have to find women, we have to find first of all, we have to deliver, and we have to find the right people who can help us forward. And it's not that government will tell us that in this insurance company or in that chemical company should be so many women. We have to be ready and we have to be visible.
Yes, but there are still regulations, and someone is kind of creating those. But that's very good point in a sense that it should always start from a person to fight.
That there are any regulations. Yes, maybe in Finland the only regulation I could say what should be changed quickly is that employers should not have any expenses when women are giving labor, because that will limit the entrepreneurs. If you have women candidate in her 30s and you have a male candidate and you're a small business, you think that, okay, if this woman will be pregnant after 1 or 2 years, I have to pay a lot of money for that. So I will choose the male candidate. And that's a big issue in Finland at the moment. And it's not solved, even I know they have been talking about years. And it's still solved.
I see.
One thing to do.
I think that governments actually can do a lot. I think one of the things that really upsets me is when anything is decided on a gender basis. There should be nothing decided on a gender basis. When it comes to parental support, when you have a newborn, it should be equal. Let the couple decide whether it's the mum or the dad or how they split the parental leave. That should be the amount that's given to the couple, or allocated, should I even say, to the child, because it could be a grandparent takes some of the parental leave. I think government can do a lot to eliminate this. There should be absolutely no excuse for women and men doing the same job being paid differently. There is absolutely no reason for that. So governments are in control of that. There is a lack of females going into the STEM courses, you know, the science, technology, maths and engineering. There is a lack of that. But if you certainly look into the States and the UK, it's because often the schools that are gender-based then have certain subjects allocated to the genders. When I went to school, I went to a mixed school in my first, up to the age of 12. The boys learnt to sew alongside the girls. We all learnt to do woodwork. But then at 12 years old, we went into separate schools, boys and girls separately. The boys had a fantastic science department and the girls had a fantastic home economy department. That is totally gender-based, gender biased. And that should not be the case. So there's actually a lot the government can do. They do encourage people to apply for jobs. They do say you should try and get a gender balance in your board of management or in your senior staff. That's good in theory, but going back to what Ida says, you choose the best person for the job. Again, gender shouldn't come into it, but I have to say that most of our economic professors that have applied to our business school, the men have been better qualified to deliver than the women have. They all get a chance to guest lecture, and the students actually grade them on their lecturing, but the male participants usually do much better than the females. But government can do a lot, and actually, definitely, that there should be no gender discrimination.
I think it's also self-done, the discrimination. We don't even realize, but maybe we women are a little bit shy to ask for help from men, or we have some kind of interiorized competition with them, when instead it should not be us against you, but should be a general cooperation among us if we really want to do the difference. We need the men, or let's say the gender, the typical person that the people would consider the middle-aged white man. But yeah, so it should be a cooperation between the two main genders if we really want to raise. And for what regards the government, I think that what really the government should do is to try to find solutions together with the actual people, like to really go on the streets to listen to what people really have need on. Of course, the researchers are important. Of course, the academic specialists are important, but they should really listen what the everyday people listen, what in Italy we call the cafeteria talks, basically what the people talk among themselves during the day, because it's the true. Like, I mean, what you speak about your own struggles, you speak it with your friends, you speak it with your colleagues, and that's where you actually hear pieces of everyday life that have to be changed. And not necessarily the government, but for example, governmental news, let's say the official national news, and the municipalities, they should really give more visibility to minority women. We are not talking only about the native women, but also the minority women of the other communities, or international women, or openly like women from other minority communities, and not always the same people, because I have the feeling that always the same people are called as example, while one person cannot represent everybody of own minority. Imagine every minority. It's important. There should be more diversity or representation. So at least for me, I think the government, this is what should do. Listen more what the everyday talks are about, and to give more visibility to the women in the minorities.
I would also add one thing, as I have been recruiting hundreds of people during my job career, and what I have noticed is that usually with the same qualification and with the same work experience, women, they ask around 30–40% less salary. They ask. Couple of months ago, I made one research. I took a Finnish company who is selling keynote speakers, and they have their prices there. So I calculated every single female keynote speaker price. It's not the salary, it's what they ask. And I calculated the male keynote speakers' salaries or the prices they ask. The result was that no male asked as low as the lowest women price was, and no women asked the highest as male asked. And again, the average difference was around 30%. And now we don't talk that government gave us that kind of salary or employer gave us the salary. No, this is the price women and men ask. And until women don't realize that they can ask more and guts to ask more, they get less.
That's right. So the guts, I think Michelle spoke about that as well in the beginning, but it's a difficult element to see how could we push that gap into the women. But of course, through these sessions, for example, experiences, information interviews, I think that is also one possibility to hear that there can be more to ask than what women are asking at the moment. Very important. And I think that should be discussed even much more openly, so that women can hear around the world.
That's why, for example, the informational interviews are important, because maybe I want to become a professional speaker. I might ask to Aide, how much do you charge per hour? Like if you Google it, you would never find the right answer. But as Aide knows how to look from the website, what's the average real salary? Maybe I wouldn't have thought about it, or I could ask straight to Aide. That's why it's important then to learn how to share the information among ourselves.
In Finland, we are in a lucky position that you can actually, knowing the person name and place she or he lives, you can call to tax office and ask how much she earns. So if there is a male colleague or position is open, and you know that there is someone working in the similar or same position, you can check what kind of salary he or she got last year. So that's open information. You can just call to tax office and ask.
Yes, but then again, the companies should be paying equal salaries. It's different if you're a guest speaker. I get that, because your expenses could be very different. If you're a guest speaker in your home country, or a guest speaker and you have to travel, you know, all of these contracts for different reasons, because you have lots of travel, you're going to have to use work days at home. That's very different. But a contract for a job, for a position in the company, should be paid for that level of work, regardless of whether a male or a female applies. There is no excuse about this in my mind. It's not a question of how much salary would you like. This is how much salary is commanded by this position. And if you're qualified to do the job, you can take it. And if you're not qualified, you don't take a less of a salary and still do the job. If you're not qualified, you don't get the position. There should be no discrimination, there should be no discrepancy. The job is paid for the job itself, regardless of who applies.
In Finland, the situation is a little bit different, but also challenging, because most of the jobs where women are, they are state-owned companies, like childcare, teachers, in medical, let's say hospitals. They are not privately owned. And that's what makes the difference, because if the areas or industries where typically women work are state-owned, there are less salaries than privately owned sectors. And that's what makes the gap between the salaries in Finland, female and male.
I think that's probably the same worldwide, without a doubt. When you're working with governments, the salaries are fixed, and when you go commercially, from one company to the next, the salary will vary. But within a company, however much the company can afford to pay for somebody, it should not be gender-based. So if you apply for a job, the salary is fixed. You're not applying for a particular salary.
Definitely.
This is true. This is economics. That certainly, generally speaking, if you work in the private sector, because of the insecurities and there's a lot of negatives working in the private sector, you often get paid more. And when you work in the government sector, you generally have job security with a few extra things like extra pension or whatever. Then you usually get paid less. That's fine. That's commercialization. But it should not be gender-based, how much you earn, whether you choose to work in government or private. The price tag should be the same.
That's right. Yes, Aide, you had some point?
I just said, Michelle, it's true. That shouldn't be.
Okay.
And that's why it's like Chiara said, that it's always good to do a homework and look around what you ask. But yes, of course, in ideal world, companies should take care of that. And I think it's more and more companies do that because of the public pressure. No one would be caught that, oh, they pay different salaries nowadays. It's very difficult to keep secrets nowadays.
That's right.
We actually have a case going on in the UK with the British Broadcasting Company, the BBC, who were paying less to the female reporters than the male reporters at the same scene on the same story. Or in television series, the female actors were being paid less than the male actors for doing the same level of appearances.
I see. So the work is starting already from
there's a lot of work to be done, and it's absolutely outrageous that this is in today's day and age that there is still a discrepancy between the amount of money earned for the same job done. And this is where, going back to your question originally, Conrad, there is a lot of work to be done by the governments, never mind individuals. Governments themselves should ensure that all corporations are on this basis. You pay for what you do, not for your gender.
Fantastic. The time is flying. Ideas are flowing. This is very nice to hear that people are motivated, the panelists here. I was just wondering if our guest participants have questions in this age, or comment as well. It's definitely fine to open up your mic and give a comment. Any comment counts, as you could already hear the discussion here.
Or I think you can also write it in a chat.
Yes, definitely. There is a chat as well in case participants have some comment to write. But of course, as I can see from the discussion here, is that the woman of the world has to celebrate the possibilities of networks, education, and good examples ahead of them. Because these are always there. They are just there for the people to grab and utilize them for their future success. Even though there is a lot of work to still to be made or to be done in our societies or by ourselves, but there is always an opportunity of a community or network somewhere there, and you can find it by logging into the social media or by using technology, or then just network around you to realize what is available for me, to empower me. And of course, learning is important, formal and informal, as we've heard from the examples of our parents and great-grandparents. We can learn some tenacities which they went through that can give us insights of the things that could be done based on what they have gone through. So these are all the resources that women of the world can utilize and also empower themselves to go to the next level. But as I can already, I could sense, the work to be done is still there. And it's both from the women themselves, standing out, asking for salaries that you would really like to be paid, doing your research, communicate with others to know how the field is doing for women or for men, that you could also equal that one. But also it is important for the governments to regulate the systems in a way that supports the gender balanced. I think not only male or female, but also their gender minorities people. Nowadays, we hear a lot of stories about those not treated equally and so forth, so that we can have a better place to live as we go on. But the bottom line is that we are the examples of the children that we have. And I decided to host this event because I just got a baby girl. And then I thought 20 years from now, this girl might have the same challenges to discuss. As a father, what do I have to do? So I really hope that other fathers around the world will also see me as an example, I hope, and also try to fight for their baby girls, try to fight for their wives, try to fight for the position that they would have loved to see their mothers be into, so that we can also empower gender equally together, because this is the very important element and aspect that we would like to create in order to have a better place to live as we are going on in many years to come. Maybe this is not for our generation, but it's better if we build the upcoming generations. But my final question, as you could already imagine, to the panelists, what piece of message would you give to the women? You are already, and I have to mention that you are already successful in your areas, that we didn't want to look for superstars here, because many times the world will feature the superstars as successful people. We wanted to feature ordinary people who have fought to be in the position they are, and you are great examples for that. But what would you tell the women around the world that they could be in your position?
I would say surround yourself with positive people and beware of party poopers. There is too much Debbie Drowners around that they just, they are what they call emotional vampires. They might be really negative. They might suck all your energy on doing things. You can be very motivated, but if around you have people just saying, no, you will never manage. No, this world is too much, not ready to accept what you want to do, etc., etc. Even the most motivated person will give up. So surround yourself with people that, of course, it's not that you have to live in castles with clouds and think that everything is possible, but at least try to surround yourself with people that can say it might be rough, but you can make it. And also learn from other people's mistakes, in the meaning that we are, as you said, all three of us, we made it in what we wanted to achieve, but we all three have made mistakes during the path. We all three have failed during the climbing. We all three have gone through moments that we're just crying and saying, I will never manage to do that. Ask us what those moments were. Ask us how we overcome them and use them for your own path to success.
A very good advice, I believe. Never be stopped by the people. The community is like that. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do my thing. Oh no, that is a male dominated. You will never be. So it's important to go for your dream. And I think failure should not be escaped. We fail, we do it again to be better. What about Michelle and Aide?
I mean, definitely you do need to have positive people around you. I actually have a male colleague who, I call him the devil's advocate. He always gives me the reasons why something is not going to work. And I appreciate that because it makes quite sure that I've covered all angles. Actually, he's a very positive person for me to bounce my ideas from. And then I walk away from him. So it's actually good to have people question what you're doing to make quite sure that you're on the right path and that you haven't forgotten something. Don't hold back. If you have a dream or an aspiration, then absolutely go for it. Don't be afraid of failing. As Kira said, it's not the end of the world to fail, but it certainly is the end of the world to not have tried in the first place. I always say, take your humour with you. You've got to keep your sense of humour. You've got to be happy and network. Use your network, your community, however close it is, even if it's just 2 people, because you're in the middle of nowhere. Ask them to support you on your adventure. So be happy, be positive, listen to criticism. Don't let it get to you, but listen to it and make sure that you have covered those angles. And just don't hold back because of your gender. That's the one thing you should never have to consider. So you're as good as anybody else. That's my words of wisdom.
Thanks a lot. Wonderful words. And I think the element of happiness, that is really, I think we had a discussion before and also with Chiara. This happiness is the core of everything. We cannot be happy every day for sure, but we can plant the happiness in our bodies that will get us go out there and celebrate our differences. go out there and be in a network that we are uncomfortable, but still say that, hello, I would need to discuss with the minister. It's because you are ready. You are a happy person and you are ready to receive a yes or no answer, but still go back home happy. So I think that is a really, really important ingredient that people might not understand, but it's important to understand that an element of happiness is very soft, but very, very important in getting things to be done. What about Ida?
Thank you, Michelle and Chiara. It's really difficult to add something to your suggestions. I'm struggling now to be original and nice and whatever. But one thing I would like to say, it works for me. I hope it works for the other ones too, is a growth mind. There are people who say, oh, it doesn't work or it will never work. And the other people say, oh, let's try. Let's find out. So growth mind should be always like your every day. The growth mind should be with you. And let's not take too much pressure, because in a moment when you are not having this curiosity and excitement in your life anymore, you are old, and you don't want to be old in this kind of old. And I can tell you, there was a research in Finland. They researched old people, really old people, and they tried to find out why are they so old and still alive. And the answer was the old people who had their curiosity still. They were curious about the life, about different things, about the neighbors' relations, everything. They were still alive. In a moment you lose this curiosity about life, about people, about technology, then you know that you are getting old. And don't do it. And don't take too much pressure. Have some fun too. Because in a moment you don't have this excitement anymore, it's not fun, and then the curiosity will not help you. So have fun and be curious. Yeah, something.
Fantastic. Curiosity.
Yeah, I want to quote my grandma in this. My grandma is the same person that me and Conrad have discussed so much about, because she's her and my dad who has inspired me through feminism and women empowerment. My grandma and my dad. And my grandma is 86, and she has gone through the Second World War as a minority, so you can imagine. And she still goes to hairdresser. She wants her nail polish. She wants her nice clothes. And my aunt actually asked her, said, you anyway live at home alone. It's not that you go out. Why do you keep on doing that? And she said, because the day I will stop, it's the day I will feel old.
Wonderful. So old is gold, and actually you're never old until when you feel old.
Yes.
And you choose to feel old in that sense. I think all these examples here really give an insight to people, and I think whoever will listen to them will get a point or two. And we are very happy to discuss more here at Inspire, for example. If someone has tried and it didn't work out, we can have an interview, we can discuss and see what made it not work out, and maybe matchmake this person with another one to see how the dream of this other person could be made true, or how is it challenging, and just discuss the possibility, because as Ida said, that we have to give, or we have to let other people also succeed, not only keep it on our own. So by discussing, by opening up the topics, we get to other people's minds as well. We get them understand that one single sentence. They don't have to understand the 2 hours, but a single statement that came from any one of you could create an aha moment to the person who is listening, or who came to listen later on in our social media platforms. And then try with that one. Okay, maybe I should actually try to network. And then try to Google, try to figure out how people are doing the things that they would like to do, and realize that things are possible. And slow but sure, this is the movement. Success is not a 24-hour job, as we all know. I would continue this discussion for many days to come, but I promised everybody that it will end at 4 o'clock Eastern European time. And actually, this is almost that time. I would like to thank our panelists for taking your time to come and discuss with us many different insights, and also the work that you're doing. Our participants, and also the colleagues from the International Working Women of Finland for supporting this event, and also for getting the word out. We believe that we can do even more. Next year, we are also going to have the International Women's Day celebration. We hope to make a little bit of a bigger scale. This is the first time we are doing this, so we didn't want a bigger scale since we have to learn. And if there is no COVID, we might have a physical meeting also. Let's just hope for the best. And we welcome everybody to join. So follow us in social medias, follow us. Each one of us has good social media platforms, as they have been allocated into the discussion in all the social medias that we post this conversation. Follow them, get to know what they're doing. One day you might be like them, or even better than them. And this is what we want to create for the world. So I wish you a very good rest of the day, and we will be in contact later on, and or possibly meet them next year. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you, Conrad. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.